Welcome everyone to Bottom of the Sixth on Blaze Radio. I'm your host Dylan Oliver, live from the Bill Austin studio in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm joined by my co-host Luke Carter, and now today we have a lot to cover across the NFL, NBA, and of course the World Series outcome. Now before we jump into that stuff, I want to give a quick shout out to ASU's men's and women's basketball teams as their season begins tonight. Staying on the topic of basketball, in the NBA, we've seen over 3 weeks of action now of basketball, and only one team remains undefeated. That would, of course, be the Milwaukee Bucks at 9-0. They have become the first team to get to 9-0 since the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors that set the wins record in a single season and went 73-9 that year. So, Luke, through these first few weeks, what are your thoughts on these Bucks, and can they really match the 73-9 Golden State Warriors?
Well, thank you, Dylan, for having me. First off, filling in tonight. The Milwaukee Bucks this year have been fantastic to start the season. They have played a perfect 9 games so far, and they've done it without their second-best player, Chris Middleton. This goes a lot to show, first off, to Giannis Antetokounmpo. I believe he is the best player in the NBA. He has just gotten better every single year that he's been in the league, and he truly is dominant. He's a one-of-a-kind type of player, generational talent, and he's been doing his thing, living up to expectations. But what makes this team so good is how the roster is constructed. They have the perfect pieces around Giannis. Perimeter defense and passing with Drew Holiday, off-the-bench scoring with
Bobby Portis,
who has been awesome to start the year, and Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez has been a Defensive Player of the Year candidate so far this year. He has been amazing protecting the rim and rebounding for this team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They are by far the best team in the entire NBA, and like you said, have the best team in the whole league in Giannis Antetokounmpo. And once again, like you said, 9-0 without their second best player in Chris Middleton. I mean, their defense has just been outstanding so far this year, as they are number 1 in points allowed and up there in blocks per game, and they're number 2 overall in point differential. A big reason for their success so far, goes along with the roster construction, is their height advantage over so many teams. Like we mentioned, Bobby Portis, he's 6'10", Giannis 6'11", Brook Lopez 7 foot. Like, they are protecting the paint, and then with the perimeter defense of Drew Holiday, their defense is just outstanding. The only issue with this team so far is their offensive efficiency has not been that great, as they're shooting only around 45% from the field, which is bottom 10 in the league, but it really doesn't matter so far because of how their defense has been able to win them these games. But I think Chris Middleton, when he comes back, is really going to help out with that offensive efficiency, as he is a scorer for this team. Now, staying obviously with basketball, the Bucks are big-time title contenders. A team that many thought would be title contenders but really haven't looked super great so far this year are the defending champion Golden State Warriors. They go into a game tonight with a record of 3-7, which is the 3rd worst in the Western Conference. So why the early struggles for the champs?
Straight up, the champs aren't playing defense, Dylan. They are giving up so many points per game, and honestly, I think they're just a little unmotivated as of right now. It's kind of like with the Rams in the NFL. They've looked very flat to start the year. When you win a championship, the championship hangover is very real, and the Warriors are experiencing it greatly right now. They've just come out flat, to put it simply.
Yeah, I mean, when you are the defending champs, every team is going out there to give you their best shot, and players that don't usually make plays are going to make plays, and their defense has to be better. They are dead last in defense when it comes to points per game. They're averaging 121.4 points per game given up. Offensively, they have no problems there. Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry's averaging over 30, Jordan Poole's phenomenal, Clay, every once in a while he gets streaky and gets hot, but this defense just can't get it done. Draymond Green in the past has been a great defender, but now he's aging. He gets a lot of fouls nowadays, so it's just their defense hasn't been great, and I think a big reason for their struggling defense is where the Bucks had a lot of size. The Warriors really don't have much size. Their starting center, Kevon Looney, is only 6'9". So because they have such small players, they have difficulty protecting the paint. So because they have to protect the paint so much, put so much commitment and effort into protecting the paint, it then gives wide open shooters on corners, perimeters, everywhere, which then they, of course, are going to drain, especially against the Golden State Warriors. So it's really just their defense, and if they can get that fixed, then they'll be great. But I mean, when your small forward Andrew Wiggins is your leading blocks per game person, it's not going to be great for you guys. I mean, I'm sure the Warriors will be able to turn it around and figure something out, because at the end of the day, they're a dynasty, and they have been a dynasty for a reason and have always been able to battle back when being doubted. A current team that has a lot of doubters is another Western Conference team with some great pieces, the Los Angeles Lakers. They too have had a horrible start to the season, as they are 2-7. They have big name players and no future draft picks. Russell Westbrook is in a bit of a confusing situation. Where do the Lakers go from here with this 2-7 start?
So I'm not gonna come here and say that the Lakers are outright bad, because they obviously have tons of talent. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, both top 10 players in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Russell Westbrook is still a great player. He just was not fitting in the system that Frank Vogel had him in last year. This year, I've seen a lot of improvement as Frank Vogel has left. And please remind me, who's the Lakers head coach?
Darvin Ham.
Darvin Ham. He's done a great job of having Russ on the court at not the same time as LeBron, because they're both so ball dominant. And Russ has actually been very good off the bench in the games since he has started to come off the bench. But the biggest problem with this Lakers team is the shooting. Every single LeBron team that has been successful has been surrounded with shooters. This Lakers, their best shooter is Matt Ryan, a rookie who most of you probably didn't know until he hit that corner three.
He was door dashing just about a week ago.
So this Lakers team, if they want to go for it this year, they are going to have to acquire some shooters at the deadline. But it's like, do the Lakers really have any picks left? Because, for example, this season, the Pelicans have the Lakers pick. If the Lakers continue to play this poorly, could you imagine the Pelicans ending up with a Victor Wembanyama or a Scoot Henderson to add to Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and CJ McCollum?
Yeah, the Lakers could help the Pelicans really start a dynasty over there with some of the talent they're getting. But, I mean, the Lakers are in a really, really bad situation as an organization as a whole right now. I mean, they have LeBron, they have AD, they have Russell Westbrook, and it feels like they're just wasting all of these talents. I mean, they just have not been able to figure out how to win games with these people. People were using Russ last season as a big reason, and Frank Vogel as a big reason for why the Lakers had a hugely disappointing season. But now Russ has been playing great recently, and the Lakers still can't win games, even with his great performances. He's been thriving in his new bench role, and the Lakers are still just one miraculous Matt Ryan buzzer beater away from being 1-8 on the season. They don't have a first-round pick until 2026. That's 4 drafts still, and it just feels like this team has no direction under Jeanie Buss, and I don't know what they're going to be able to do about it. Because, I mean, they have the talent that should allow them to compete, but they have a record and game performances that say they should be a rebuilding franchise. But they don't have those draft picks.
The two biggest pieces I feel the Lakers lost from their 2020 championship team, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Danny Green. Those are the two types of players that fit perfectly on LeBron James-led teams. And Rob Pelinka went all in on trying to add Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder after that season, letting go of KCP and Danny Green. And those two players, they are very talented, but they're not the type of players to play with LeBron, and now they're gone anyways, leaving this Lakers rosters with literally no depth.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they've run this team since after that championship win is really horrible, in my opinion. And I hate to say it as a Lakers fan, but I think the Lakers are wasting the final years of LeBron James, and that they're going to have some a few dark number of years coming up.
Like right after Kobe retired.
Yes, yeah, exactly like that, where we just have no draft picks, no real talent, no shot at any championships. And the Lakers aren't the only team of mine that get to disappoint me on a weekly basis. The Packers are the other team I love in the NFL, but they don't deserve to be talked about anymore this year. So let's talk about some NFL teams that actually do deserve airtime. The New York Jets.
I love the Jets roster this year.
Going into this week, they were 10.5-point underdogs against division rival the Buffalo Bills, but that didn't matter. They went in and won 20-17, allowing the Jets to advance to 6-3 on the season. So, question is, are the Jets legit?
Are the Jets legit? Do I think they're winning the Super Bowl this year? No. But I think they are legit in the way that they are building for the future fantastically.
Absolutely.
The first round draft picks that they have had over the last 3 years, they have hit on every single one. Sauce Gardner, I think you could argue he is already a top 5 corner in the NFL.
100%.
He has looked incredible this year. Robert Saleh was such a good hire. People had their questions at first because he was put in there with basically nothing, and he struggled at first. But I think he is a great head coach in the NFL. And give it 2 or 3 more years, and I think this Jets team will be contending.
The energy that Saleh brings to an organization, we saw with the 49ers. He made that defense phenomenal. And now with the Jets, this Jets defense is great so far this year. Like you said, draft picks have been fantastic. We'll still see about Zach Wilson. But, I mean,
Zach Wilson, his thing is he just has to not do too much.
Yeah.
If he plays the game manager role, especially with that rushing attack they have when they get Breece Hall back and they have James Robinson, Michael Carter's a solid back, like, he just don't turn the ball over, and this
you're
team
in a good
could be
spot.
Very good offensively.
I think they might just be legit. This year even, I think they could
make the playoffs.
I think they can make the playoffs. I mean, they just beat the Buffalo Bills,
Yeah.
which in my opinion was the best team in the entire NFL.
Easily.
I am really starting to love the Jets team. Quinnen Williams is another
great, yes.
piece that they have. And one thing I love is the way they can perform in the fourth quarter. They just get better as the game goes along. They are a plus 58 on the season in the fourth quarter, which leads the entire league for point differential in the fourth. And coming up, they have some pretty winnable games. I could see minimum 9, maybe 10 wins for the Jets this year, sneak into the playoffs. Probably not make any noise in the playoffs, but hey, you never know. I love the Jets so much this season.
Great team. It's fantastic to see their rise.
Yeah, and now in this game, they made Josh Allen look mortal and not very good. Does his performance in that game impact your opinion on whether he is the MVP frontrunner or not?
Let's be real. Josh Allen, he's going to give you 2-3 games a year where he just doesn't perform. Last year he did against the Jags, this year against the Jets. I'm not worried about it at all. Josh Allen is the most talented quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. No other quarterback has his skill set, his arm strength. I think Josh Allen is the MVP frontrunner still, and he will bounce back next week.
My mind changed a little bit. I think he's no longer my MVP frontrunner. I think it has to belong to the man who has led a team to 8-0 in Jalen Hurts right now. I have to give Jalen Hurts my MVP frontrunner. I mean, he has 18 total touchdowns and only 2 interceptions the entire season, and has led a team to, like I said, an 8-0 record through the first 9 games. Whereas Josh Allen, the last 2 games really, he hasn't been that amazing. I mean, even in that Packers game, in the last 2 games, he's only had about 400 yards, passing yards, only 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So I have to give him a little bump down, throw up Jalen Hurts to my number 1. I have, as much as I don't like to say it, because I thought Josh Allen was so much better, I have Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes at 2A, 2B right now. We got a tie. Derrick Henry at 3. Geno Smith at 4. Geno is him.
Geno is very good. Pete Carroll has done a great job. I had my doubts about Pete Carroll. I think it may have been Russell Wilson's fault. Pete Carroll is a very good head coach, and Geno Smith is playing in this offense perfectly. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are the perfect weapons for him. He has been awesome this season.
So with the Seahawks, you just mentioned, it could be, you thought it might be a coaching problem, but could be a quarterback thing. Another team with that problem, the Indianapolis Colts. They just have been horrible this year. They're 3-5-1 after the 26-3 loss to the New England Patriots. And after the loss, the Colts decided to fire head coach Frank Reich and named Jeff Saturday their interim head coach. Frank Reich has completed 4 full seasons and half of this year as the Colts head coach, where he took them to the playoffs twice, winning 1 playoff game, losing 2, and now he got his job taken from him. So, do you think the Colts are more a issue when it comes to coaching or the talent on the team?
I think Frank Reich need to go before the start of this season. In the fashion they lost to the Jaguars in that Week 18 game last year to remove themselves from the playoff, when they should have made it quite easily, considering the Jaguars were the first overall pick last year and by far the worst team in the NFL. He has not been good. That team is so talented. The way Jonathan Taylor has not been able to get anything going, I can't get myself to be like, Jonathan Taylor's talent just disappeared. I think it is a coaching thing, and I think it was the right decision for him to be fired.
So, I think it was a mix of both, because they have so many pieces on this team, like DeForest Buckner, Shaquille Leonard, Jonathan Taylor, of course, the O-line, Quentin Nelson. They have so many pieces that they should be a perennial playoff contender every single season. But they just aren't really when he is their coach. But then again, it is a quarterback-driven league. And in his 5 seasons as the head coach, 4.5 seasons, he's had a new starting quarterback every single season. I mean, when you have Andrew Luck, he made it to the divisional round. And every single year after that, the quarterbacks just got worse and worse and worse until now we're at Matt Ryan, who can't win them a game. He got benched, really. It's both. It's the players and the management and the coaching. Get a franchise quarterback. It is so hard every single year to try and teach a new quarterback the same old system and win games with a new guy every single year.
Yeah, it's time for the Colts to tank. Go get yourself a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young. Develop them. They need a quarterback.
Yeah, I could say possibly the same about my Green Bay Packers, as we have been struggling this year.
Too bad you have Aaron Rodgers with a $50 million contract on the books.
I don't know what we do with that.
No.
Because we can't keep him and Jordan Love on the team next year.
And with his play this year, I just do not see any team trading for him.
Especially not what we would ask. When it comes to your team, though, the Los Angeles Rams, they had a pretty rough loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week against Brady as he came back, game-winning drive, very end. I know you have some thoughts about your defensive coordinator over there, and break down what happened on that final drive where Brady delivered the game-winning touchdown.
So it's not just the final drive, but Raheem Morris is the Rams defensive coordinator, so obsessed with having this team play in a soft zone coverage when you have one of the best cornerbacks in the league, Jalen Ramsey, on your team, and a pass rush that you know can get home. I want to see this team play more man defense. We did it in the Super Bowl last year in the playoff run, and it worked. So I don't know what the reason is for the sudden change, but this defense has just not been the same as it was last year. And especially when your offense is struggling so vitally with the offensive line injuries and having no time for Stafford back there and everything on that side of the football looking just awful, your defense has to be good. And when you're not scoring points, you can't play in a soft zone.
And then on the flip side, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had, of course, been struggling on offense the entire season, really. Could this be the spark that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers needed to propel them to getting to be maybe that second NFC team that could be a contender going down the line?
They didn't play well in that game, and they haven't played well all season. But when Tom Brady gets some momentum, man, it's scary.
It is.
I don't want to say they have the spark, but watch out, because they could be back after that.
Because, I mean, now with that win, they're 4-5. They're tied with the Falcons for first in the NFC South. I mean, we knew the Bucks were going to win this division the entire time. But if they can get to the playoffs, Brady usually can make anything happen.
The year they won the Super Bowl, that regular season, they struggled in the first half of it, and they got hot at the right time. And I feel like that could happen again.
I hate to say it. I would hate even more to see it. But I would have to absolutely agree with what you're saying there. Like, the Bucks are always a dangerous team, especially when you have Brady with Fournette and Evans and Godwin. They just have to start to make it click because we know that defense, for the most part, is great. The last 2 games before this Rams one, it was getting burnt. But with Todd Bowles, he can make any defense turn it around. And with Tom Brady, he can make any offense turn it around. So this could be a huge, pivotal win the Bucks just got to propel them into the playoffs and potentially go on a very dangerous Super Bowl run later on in January. Now, the final quick hit for today's show, we of course have to mention the result of the World Series. The Houston Astros beat the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 6 with a score of 4-1. Luke, quick takeaway from the series.
Anyone who knows me personally will not believe what I'm about to talk about, but this Houston Astros team needs a lot of credit. This team has been hated on more than any other team in any sport ever, and they just never fall off. This past year, they lost Carlos Correa, their cornerstone star shortstop. When that happens to a team, usually you're ruined. They upgraded at the position with the rookie Jeremy Pena coming in. For you to do that, your front office has to be so good. Jordan Alvarez has just propelled to superstar heights, and that rotation has remained amazing. Christian Javier and Framber Valdez both having breakout seasons this year. I think it's time that we give the Astros their credit because the cheating is over, and they got it done this year, and they were dominant. They did it in dominant fashion.
And now with that being said, taking a quick little peek to next year. Do you think that they could go in and repeat?
Easily. I honestly see them winning the American League once again. The Yankees, they could lose Aaron Judge this upcoming season, and he could go to a National League team. The Astros are the team to beat in the American League.
I'm glad you mentioned Judge real quick. I want to know, where do you see him going? Do you think he could stay with the Yankees, or do you think he'll be gone? Because in the last offseason, they tried to extend him. They couldn't get a deal done then. So why should we think any different that now this offseason they'll be able to get a deal done?
It's hard to say. I think he personally wants to stay in New York, but I don't know if he's going to get it for the price he wants. So I could see teams like the Dodgers, who throw money at everyone, just throwing the whole farm at him to get him, or the San Francisco Giants have been in talks with him. So I'm not going to say it's a done deal saying he's going to re-sign with the Yankees. I think it is a legitimate possibility he goes to the National League in one of those California teams.
Wherever he goes, does he make that team a championship contender?
Yes. Aaron Judge is the best hitter in baseball.
What if it is the Angels?
Man, I wish, but we got to keep Ohtani first.
You got him one more year?
This year, yes.
They better make the playoffs.
There's nothing more that baseball fans need than Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout to make the playoffs. Having two of the most talented baseball players of a lifetime not making the playoffs is just ridiculous. Hopefully this front office will make some moves in the offseason and can get those two into the playoffs.
Couldn't say it better myself. If they don't make them with those two players this season, there are going to be some big changes going on with the Angels pretty quickly. But with that being said, that is all the time we have for today's edition of Bottom of the Sixth. Thank you all for tuning in. From myself, Dylan Oliver, and Luke Carter, have a great rest of your night. We will see you next time.
Bye.